You know, it takes a certain level of incompetence for like Hooters to go out of business, right? How do you have chicken wings and big-breasted women and you can't manage to make money? That seems to be a very distressing situation for me. And in this unpleasantness, I must admit, I've never actually been inside of a Hooters. Never. I think I've probably seen one Hooters restaurant in my entire life, and I didn't go inside of it. So maybe they should go out of business. But the business model sounds like it's a can't lose proposition. Big breasts, chicken wings. Two things you cannot possibly screw up. You would have to actively be screwing that up on purpose, right? You think this whole thing will run itself. Anybody can run it. You know, you could give it to an 11-year-old. As long as they don't change the menu, and as long as the big-breasted chicks are still there, it should be able to run just fine. You think that. And yet, Hooters is filing for bankruptcy. It might be going out of business. So, anything's possible in this here world. And I'm saying all this because I'm thinking there's going to be a day. I don't know if it's going to be anytime soon. It might not be anytime soon. But we're going to sit back and say a WrestleMania is not making any money. And that it's not possible for the WrestleMania to make money. Because as long as Triple H is booking the way that he is, he has somehow saw the recipe of big-breasted women and chicken wings, and he decided to screw with them both. The WrestleMania is something that sells itself, right? It's a brand. You just slap WrestleMania on something. That's why Vince was slapping WrestleMania Backlash and all this stuff. It sells itself. And so that's where the excitement for WrestleMania comes from. Not from anything that's taking place on these shows. I mean, this Raw was abysmal. It was trash. It was garbage. Another garbage Raw. The main event was pretty good, but that was the only good part about it. Well, I guess the Cody Rhodes thing with Seth Rollins was solid. But the rest of the show, the majority of the show, abysmal. Raw is very bad television. And it's not like it's bad and as if things don't make sense or there's a ton of botches or the timeline is too green. It's not bad in that way. It's bad in everything is so dry. And nothing is interesting. Nothing hooks you. It's just there. And I see now that when Triple H used to say the old man used to say, chocolate, vanilla, just ice cream. He got to pick the flavor. Now I get to pick the flavor. And it's like, okay, you chose sandpaper as a flavor because vanilla is actually good. Now we could tell in that analogy, Vince is more of a chocolate guy, probably a Neapolitan kind of guy, maybe a Superman ice cream and butter pecan kind of guy, a Rocky Road, a moose knuckle kind of guy. He's a Ben and Jerry's. Let's see what we can throw into this thing and what's going to get out of it. Triple H is like, we sell ice cream. It's all soft serve. And that's it. You just get your soft serve. Okay. Nothing else, huh? Yikes. What did Roman Reigns say? Like missionary every night. It's Raw and SmackDown, boy. You can't complain about it as long as you're getting something. But it would be nice to spice it up. So, a 4-minute preamble. I didn't mean to do that. But let's get into it. Monday Night Raw, February the 24th. WrestleNomics decided they were going to do some kind of expose on WWE about the employees. Now, employees don't mean talent. I just want people to realize that the wrestlers are considered contractors. So these are people who work in the offices. And I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's pointless, really. But apparently, after the company was sold, there was a bunch of cutbacks on rewards and raises and different things like this. And I guess WrestleNomics went fishing for information and decided that unnamed people, an unnamed person, and all these folks are upset that Endeavor cut a lot of the programs that Vince McMahon had in place. Now, I want people to realize this because I'm not going to go through this whole thing. About 2 to 3 years ago, somebody made a video. Was it a video? Was it a tweet or something? Where they was going through Glassdoor reviews of WWE and talking about how much it was a terrible place to work. It was an awful place to work. And this was back when they had all these reward programs and they were getting raises and everything. It was terrible. It was the worst place in the world to work. Now they're apparently they're stifling pay and cutting benefits and all kinds of stuff. I wonder how bad it's gotten now. I wonder what Glassdoor is going to look like by April. How bad is it going to look? But look, I always feel bad for average Joes who just want to punch a clock. And Endeavor started cutting a bunch of those office workers. A lot of those people were redundant anyway because Endeavor's taking over a lot of those divisions and putting their own people in place. That's the way things work. We're in year 2 or 3 of this purchase. Of course, there's going to be some... And then Endeavor has gone into debt in order to buy WWE. That's one of the things people don't realize is Endeavor had to go into debt to buy WWE. They're still buying assets too. They bought that silly bull riding company, which makes no sense. Which is even dumber because now they're hosting bull riding shows on WWE's YouTube account. Like, this brand isn't even strong enough to run on its own, and you're like, go buy something like a monster truck company or something. Like, go buy something that people might actually like. Nobody likes bull riding, Endeavor, and put that bullshit on the UFC Twitter account and YouTube channel. Get that shit off the WWE account. Imagine my shock. I'm getting like a stupid notification from WWE to watch bull riding. I'm like, why would I do that? I wouldn't watch bull riding. I don't care if it was going on in my own backyard. I ain't watching this. So I don't know what they're thinking. But Endeavor did go into debt to buy WWE. So they're just passing that cost along to the employees across the Endeavor sphere. This led to a lot of the more quote unquote wokish fans noting that Ari Emanuel is now a billionaire, which is weird because I thought he was a billionaire before. He owns Endeavor and therefore owns TKO, therefore owns WWE. And Vince was a billionaire and he wasn't. That was an interesting move. Anyway, they're like, Ari Emanuel just became a billionaire and they're cutting rewards and benefits and wages for the employees and all of these companies. And people don't realize things like that are called assets. And if your assets increase in value, then if you own that asset, you could be said to be a billionaire because you have a $1 billion asset, not because you have billions of dollars in the bank. When people start making that mistake, you realize they're economically illiterate and they're not worth talking to. But yes, it is true. I saw the tweets that Ari Emanuel is now a billionaire and that WWE is cutting employee rewards. These two things are not related. Okay. Now, it might be related if the lower costs is equaling to higher stock, maybe, but I don't think that's the case. In any event, the companies are doing very well, both UFC and WWE. So that's probably why the stocks are going up. But I haven't watched the TKO stock because I haven't been able to buy a stock in 2 years. I haven't invested or traded anything in 2 years. I don't think I've touched. I own WWE stock. I don't even know what happened to it when Ari Emanuel bought it. I haven't even looked. That's how out of the loop I've been. But one of these days, I'm gonna get back into it. In any event, that's just one of those things that is occurring. Now, let's get into the main show. I guess it's gonna truncate this Logan Paul thing because he came out and he rambled as well. Then he got into with CM Punk. CM Punk comes out. He's wearing a Chicago Teachers Union shirt to support the Chicago's Teachers Union. By the by, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, was a member of the Chicago Teachers Union. He is trying to talk the city into getting an $830 million loan for infrastructure, but the language in the loan will allow the legislature to divert any funds that the city borrows to other divisions like educational purposes or educational facilities or whatever. And it just so happens that the city of Chicago has been in a gridlock with the teachers unions. Now this kind of corruption, it's just naked corruption, right? You think somebody would go to jail over something like this. And it hasn't happened yet. But you would think people would go to jail over stuff like this. I mean, this is not even the appearance of impropriety. It is outright impropriety that you will put into a loan that you can divert the loan. You're telling the people we're going to pay, you're going to borrow $830 million for infrastructure, but we also going to use that money for something else. It's like, then why not tell the truth what you need to borrow the money for? You know, like this thing is unfair, but that's how government works, you know? And it's not a surprise to me that CM Punk is on the wrong side of another issue. But, hey, it's good virtue. He's virtue signaling. It's great virtue. I'm pretty sure it worked out. I mean, I don't know why he's wearing a Chicago Teachers Union shirt in Ohio, but whatever. I guess he didn't learn his geography. Or I guess it's close enough. But what is it? Toledo? Where was it at? Toledo? Cleveland? I don't know. Anyway, Logan Paul and CM Punk, they get into a bit of a discussion. Logan Paul mentions that he's good at everything that he's done inside wrestling and out, unlike CM Punk. CM Punk says he doesn't know him, but says that he is a dime a dozen. He's an ignorant, no character, no substance guy. He said this kind of alludes a little bit to MJF. That's kind of how I felt when he was talking about this, especially when he used the term generational talent. They start talking about whether CM Punk cracked under pressure, but CM Punk says he's a legend and that he made history under that same pressure that Logan Paul claims that he cracked under. They went back and forth some more before Logan Paul smacked CM Punk and then ran. Afterwards, Punk says that he can run while he can, but he's going to be in a cage on Saturday. And he's going to get his hands on Logan Paul. And then he's going to learn why these people are chanting his name. So, this was the first run-in between Logan Paul and CM Punk. I did not love it. Logan Paul, he needs to be more focused. Sometimes you got to just stop sending guys out there and telling them to spend 2 or 3 minutes razzing the fans. Talking about the basketball team or the football team or whatever kind of team it was. And, you know, reminding everybody that he's from Ohio, but he left because Ohio sucks. He does that every time he goes to Ohio, by the way. So, that kind of stuff. I think the CM Punk element just did not have enough heat. Because Logan Paul, I don't think he's on that level yet to be able to duel with Punk. I think Punk should have ran him down. Logan Paul should have just smacked him and ran. And I think the smacking and running is probably the best part of this. It's the one thing that makes sense within Logan Paul's character. Later on, Logan Paul mocked AJ Styles, talked about embarrassing him. And AJ Styles dared him to do it again. But Logan Paul says, but that if he was AJ Styles, he would consider hanging him up. So, they're teasing Logan Paul with all these different opponents. But they're doing the same thing with Brian Breaker as well. So, who the hell knows what they're planning to do. I know that they claim now that, oh, The Rock, he didn't throw anything into disarray. This was planned. Remember, Ari Emanuel said that, March the 1st at the Elimination Chamber, things were going to pick up for the WWE. Because he knows. Yeah, I'm sure he knows. I'm sure it might pick up. They need for it to pick up. They got to do something because after Elimination Chamber, there's nothing but WrestleMania. So you don't have a choice but for business to pick up. But that's what they decided to do. Logan Paul, I think he's a good addition to the roster, a good addition to the company. I don't hate him personally. He thinks he's got go away heat, which he probably does with some people. But I like that he's somebody who pisses people off. Too many of these guys don't know anything about real heat, and they just have this fake shit where they want to mean people into success or they try to mean people into failure. But Logan Paul is somebody that have not been able to meme into a failure, So I am impressed by that. Because we see over the years, if somebody falls out of favor, they'll try to meme you into failure, like Undertaker or Roman Reigns or something. And other times, they'll try to meme a guy into success, which is usually what they do. And so you get like these Kyle Fletchers and these Gabriel kids, these guys are going to be the future. Like these guys, they wouldn't be the future if today was Tuesday and tomorrow was Wednesday. They wouldn't be the future. And, he's going to be the next big deal. Like, get the fuck out of here. Get lost. Speaking of get lost, Ludwig Kaiser defeats Pete Dunne and Penta. Penta was in the match, but he didn't win it. I mean, it was fine. But why did Penta lose? What was this for? This is a triple threat match for what? No reason. And Kaiser won. So what did it mean? What is he going to get out of this? Nothing. Rhea Ripley got into Io Sky's face. They're going to have a thing next week. Nobody cares. New Day defeated the LWO because obviously this match was super, super, super boring. They wasted New Day. They have completely ruined all the heat and momentum they had with New Day. Is gone. Poof. Over. They just had a long match with the LWO. Now I did get a little bit of jollies because Dragon Lee came out to sell the LWO after the match, and then he just got beat up too by the New Day. I mean, damn, you couldn't even let the guy beat up Kofi and Woods and run them off so that he can get some pops, just a little bit of pop. That's all, just a little bit. Sheesh. Hopefully Dragon Lee's got something coming down the pike, man. This guy's too good to be sitting on the bench. Alright, Finn Balor is still arguing with all the members of Judgment Day. It's boring. Nobody cares. It's been going on for 6 months. My God, these Judgment Day feuds, they move like erosion. My Lord. This is crazy. It's like he marinates part of these feuds before he actually starts cooking them. This is ridiculous. Gunther comes out. He cuts a promo about how he was disappointed about having to wrestle Jay Uso at WrestleMania. But now he's excited because he gets to beat up the clown and embarrass him. He then said he wants to have a hand-picked opponent tonight. And he hand-picked Akira Tozawa. He said he picked Tozawa because Tozawa was backstage doing TikTok videos and, trying to impress these degenerate fans. But he knows how hard Tozawa worked to get into the WWE. But he's making wrong choices. So tonight he's going to give him being Tozawa, an opportunity to earn Gunther's respect. So Gunther goes out there, challenges Tozawa. Tozawa starts, really firing up. He's aggressive. He's fast. And, of course, he gets beaten, in short order, of course. Choked out by Gunther. But this was one of those Triple H versus Taka Michinoku kind of matches, or Triple H versus Tajiri kind of matches where, Tozawa is clearly the underdog. They're telling the story about underdogs against Gunther. That's kind of how this thing fits. And how, Alpha Academy are part of the mascots of WWE, where they basically just do goofy shit and they're not to be taken seriously. So after he chokes out Tozawa, Gunther is confronted by Otis. Otis and Gunther have a little bit of a stare down. with Gunther shoving Otis in the face and then running away when Otis charges at him. Then Otis turns around to check on Tozawa, and he ends up getting choked too. And then here comes Jay Uso, and then Gunther powdered. Hey, Megan Bang. Hey, Penelope Ford. That's what you were supposed to do. When you see the babyface come into chair or not, you're supposed to leave the ring. Oh. Now, I've said, again, I don't want to belabor that point because I talked a lot about it during the Dynamite review. But for the record, now that I've had a couple of days to think about it and listen to other people's thoughts on it, I can tell you that's not a mistake you make by accident. If you even watched enough wrestling, you would know that if the babyface comes into the ring with a chair, you powder. Everybody knows that. So that's not an excuse of, oh, well, they're just green, which is what I think Disco Inferno, like, she's just green. Ain't got shit to do with being green, man. They just didn't want to do it. You feel me? They just said, I ain't powdering, fuck it. And everybody just kind of went along with it. Now back to Raw. Jey Uso went and told Tozawa that he respects him for being impressive against the match with Gunther. Then Jey Uso runs into Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and they did exactly what I said they were going to do. This entire build is, you're just going to get beat, mate. Gunther's going to plant all your seeds, mate. He's going to eat all of your corn. And then Jay's like, you doubting me, Oos? Everybody doubting me, Oos. And then that's it. Only interesting bit about this is Austin Theory yeeting with Jey Uso, which pissed off Grayson Waller. But again, talk about erosion. This feud between, this thing that they're building between Waller and Theory has been going on since August, I think. It's been going on forever. Forever. And it's not going anywhere. Nowhere fast. So, Jey Uso is now the guy who tells people that he's impressed with them. Whatever. Lyra Valkyria defeated Dakota Kai. Jesus Christ. Did you think there was going to be any other option here? Dakota Kai got a long televised match on TV. Get real. Sami Zayn, I forgot about this, and thankfully I took notes. Sami Zayn had a sit-down interview where he talked about seeing Kevin Owens outside of his house. So he went to Kevin Owens' house, only to find out that Kevin Owens' mom was there. And then he said they sat down and they caught up. She made tea. They had biscuits. It was great. They had a great old time. And then he left and was like, what was I thinking? What's going on? What am I doing here? Then I ran into this kind old French-Canadian lady, and we just sat down and talked about the good old days, and now all of a sudden, I'm not mad no more. So, he says that he's ashamed of himself for going to Kevin Owens' house with less than good intentions, and says that he doesn't recognize Kevin Owens, he doesn't recognize himself, and he says they aren't themselves, and they're going to do tremendous damage to one another at Elimination Chamber. I actually like this because Sami Zayn is the babyface in this situation. He is maintaining that he wants to be as mad as Kevin Owens, but he got that limiter on him. That is good morality. He's not going to go to the extent that Kevin Owens is going to go. And that needs to play into the match when you talk about the unsanctioned element. There has to be something that Sami was not willing to do in order to win, that Kevin Owens is willing to do in order to win. And then having Kevin Owens do that thing, win the match, and then probably set up the rematch. I would imagine it's going to be a rematch at WrestleMania. At least I would imagine so. I don't think you would just one and done this. Now, Bron Breakker and Dominic Mysterio, they fought to a disqualification when Judgment Day jumped Bron Breakker. Then Bron Breakker beat up everybody, ran them all off. Then he got a face-to-face with Finn Balor, and they had a growl-off with Bron out-growling Finn, and Finn ran away. It was like the 8th person that Bron Breakker has stared at. He stared at Penta. That didn't go anywhere. He stared at AJ Styles. He even tried to attack AJ Styles. That didn't go anywhere. Now he's staring at Finn and growling at him, and this probably won't go anywhere either. Literally, They had Bron Breakker try to fight AJ Styles last week. Those two people did not cross paths at all on this show. They decided instead to have Gunther big up Akira Tozawa rather than continuing with the Intercontinental Champion was going to do. But hey, at least Bron Breakker was on the show, which I've complained week after week about no Bron Breakker. Now here he is. But he still wasn't on TV very long. And he was wrestling another heel. So, how about that? How about that? My eyes are so heavy. I'm fighting through this thing. Let's get through this. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, they had the best segment on the show. They had a very solid segment. Now, Cody Rhodes set it up very well here. He talked about his father wrestling into his 60s because, you know, everybody knows Notoriously Dusty didn't make some good investments in his later part of life and needed to work ECW and MLW and a bunch of other small indie shows after his Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling or something like that went under. And he was saying that The Rock is offering him the opportunity to have it all so that he does not have to work into his 60s like his father did. And then they decided to dump Seth Rollins in this thing, which I'm not sure if it made it better or not. Let me think my way through it. So Seth Rollins talked about them not being in the same ring since WrestleMania of last year. Wants to know what Cody Rhodes is thinking. That they fought the Bloodline. He fought The Rock. Cody Rhodes not slapping The Rock in the face on Friday was a slap to the face of Seth Rollins. Seth then questioned whether the championship is too much of a burden for Cody. Because if it is, he can take it from him. Then Cody Rhodes says that he questions Seth Rollins' judgment because Seth Rollins' soul is already compromised. And he goes through all the time Seth Rollins has stabbed people in the back, which is important information here, especially if they're going to tease that Seth Rollins is going to be the guy that turns. Cody Rhodes appreciates him, though, for helping him win the title. Seth Rollins then replied that he's filled with a lot of hate for a lot of people, and he doesn't want to direct any of that hate towards Cody. And he says, "Don't make me hate you, Cody," even though he had told Cody he hated him like 2 years ago. Then he says that he wants to fight Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, but he wants Cody untainted by The Rock. He doesn't want to fight Cody Rhodes as a corporate shill. He doesn't want Cody Rhodes' soul. He just wants his championship. So I think it was a strong segment. It's kind of a play on not WrestleMania. It was SummerSlam 92. Where, remember SummerSlam 92, there was Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair, and they were talking about how one of either Macho Man or Ultimate Warrior sold out, and which one of them is going to be. They did the same thing with Tatanka and Lex Luger, but they actually teased that Lex Luger has sold out. And surprise, it was Tatanka, but in SummerSlam 92, it was one of them has secured the services of Mr. Perfect for the main event, and that was the guy who was going to win. It was a way of, hey, we don't have any heel in this match, so we're going to inject a heel anyway. And then it turned out neither one of them turned, which sucked. But it was still a good match and a great storyline. I wish they'd actually turned somebody, though. Would have been great to have Randy Savage with Mr. Perfect as his manager, or Randy Savage with Bobby the Brain Heenan in his corner. Oh my God. Could you imagine how psychotic that would have been? Oh my word. That would have been fantastic. Anyway, they're doing something similar here, where they're going to have The Rock back one of the horses in Elimination Chamber. And we, the fans, are going to be sitting back wondering which one. And no doubt Cody is amongst that list. So you're sitting here, and obviously babyface Cody is not going to accept it. It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to have to basically who sold out kind of gimmick. Who's going to sell out to The Rock? And it's an intriguing story, but I think all the options are just trash. But they did a good job here of basically putting a lot of suspicion on Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins has a history of being a corporate shill and selling out. Cody has sold out too. He's sold out to the elite. Somebody should bring that up. Like, you talk about Seth Rollins selling out. Didn't you sell out? Didn't you go start a whole new company, then turn around and come back? You know, everybody in that damn chamber is a sellout in one way or another. Punk did the same damn thing. The only person who has been 10 toes down and hasn't sold out is Damian Priest. And he's the one person in the match that nobody believes can win. And quite frankly, nobody wants to win. So, but at least it's an intriguing story. It's a hook. People are going to watch the show just to see what the development is here. If they're not interested in the match itself. But I think the match itself is meh. It's just big old meh. But the hook is pretty good. The hook is pretty solid. All right, the main event of the evening. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeated Naomi and Bianca Belair to win the tag team championships. Very good match, if we're being honest. Laid out quite well. Some really great near falls in here, especially with the double team KOD, which I loved as a finish for Naomi and Bianca. The finish comes from Raquel yanking Naomi by the leg and then grabbing her head and throwing it into the LED board. That, I guess, knocked her unconscious. And Liv Morgan just pins Naomi to win the match. So Naomi lost the belts. Now that the tag team titles are out of the storyline, I'm guessing, personal feud can continue. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Obviously, it's going to rope into the Jade Cargill thing if it ever actually continues to move, because Naomi is the one who lost the belts, not Bianca. So you could turn Bianca heel and say she got rid of one weak link. She's going to get rid of another one. You can have her beat up Naomi too. I don't like that idea, because I don't like the idea of Bianca being a heel when she's clearly a top babyface. Hell, in some ways, she was the top babyface before they decided to sandbag her in the tag team division for 2 years. So I don't like that. If Naomi is the one that's going to turn, then Bianca not being there to save her, Naomi feeling like she deserved, having a sense of entitlement about the championships and all that kind of stuff could be used too. And it seems like they're going to actually, and they need to really reveal this at Elimination Chamber. Like, if Jade Cargill does not appear at Elimination Chamber, I do not care about this storyline anymore. All right? If she does not appear at Elimination, I'm talking about attack somebody after the match, do a run-in inside the cage, because they like doing the run-ins inside the cage. If they don't do anything like that, I'm through with this storyline, because this thing has been going on for way too long. I don't expect them to drop any bombshells the day before Elimination Chamber on SmackDown, but I do expect something on that show. I don't want to wait till the Raw after or the SmackDown after. If they don't do anything on the Elimination Chamber event for Jade Cargill returning, this storyline must just end it. Must just drop it, because there's never been anything like this in history that's taken this long. It's just never happened. Clearly, the idea is to get Jade Cargill a match at WrestleMania. Now, we've built this thing up. Everybody, I'm guessing, wanted Jade versus Bianca. This is a sensible way to get that, is to have Bianca be the heel. But I'm not a huge fan. Jade versus Naomi could also work. It'll probably be an absolutely atrocious match, but give it a whirl. That's what I would say. And get Bianca out of goddamn tag teams, man. But if that means Bianca doesn't work at WrestleMania, though, that sucks. That would be truly trash, but there's nothing you can really do. Ultimately, this storyline has to go forward. Now, in terms of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, I figured they were going to win it, because Liv lost the titles and she's still over as a heel. And somebody had to win those belts. And now they need to build babyface teams, so I'm guessing the Meta Girls are about to come up.